The views, information, or opinions expressed during the Geeks Under the Influence podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of RVA Magazine, Loot Crate, amzn.to, or their employees. Listener discretion is advised. Fuck off if you don't like it.
Hello, geeks, and welcome to our review of Alien Covenant. Just came out in the theaters last week, and we finally got around to watching it, and we're going to do a review for you on this very special Alien Covenant review with Geeks Under the Influence.
Geeks Under the Influence.
So, Lowdown, Hunter, thank you for joining us on just this little addition to our normal Geeks Under the Influence podcast. A little 15-20 minute deal, just talking about Alien Covenant and its involvement in the Alien universe. First off, where do you guys put it as far as like on the Alien movies list?
I gotta go Alien, Aliens, and Covenant.
Really? Okay, so third best?
Third best, yeah,
Yeah, I
for
was
me.
going to say, that's good bad. I mean, like, literally, it was really, really enjoyable, but there's no fucking way it's ever going to surpass either Alien or Aliens. I mean, like, that's almost impossible. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I think any fans of the original two movies didn't expect that going in. I mean, you're not going to beat Alien or Aliens it's just not going to happen. Those are classics.
And I mean, you got to look. Hey, Alien. It's still Ridley Scott doing Covenant, but it was Ridley Scott back in the '70s doing Alien, groundbreaking film.
Sure.
Versus now we've gotten two sequels and then a prequel before Covenant came out. So
Sure.
it also goes a little bit higher because we dealt with shit, good, awesome. As Covenant was awesome.
Yeah.
I still think people shit on Prometheus a little bit more than it needs to be.
Yeah.
As an Alien movie, it's really it lags in some parts, but as a Ridley Scott sci-fi movie, I enjoy it. And I watched it again last night, and people shit talk that movie. Ridley Scott's almost apologized for it. I don't think it's that fucking awful.
Well, I would say the one thing that I saw, I thought of when I first got out of the theater from watching this is that this is definitely more of a Prometheus movie than it is an Aliens movie.
Which caught me off guard completely.
Yeah, I was expecting a lot more like horror action in this movie than we got. Now, it's not that there wasn't any, because there definitely was. But it was a lot more about kind of the backstory in this universe, which, albeit it was super cool to find out kind of a little bit more about where this virus came from. And what it was all about. By the way, we are getting into spoilers on this.
Spoiler heavy.
Yeah, super spoiler heavy. So I will put that in the notes and everything as well. So
now I do see what you're saying as far as when you think of an Alien movie, you do expect a little bit more of the horror, but they even touched on that back in Aliens, where they kind of took away from some of that and put more of the action war movie style feel to it, where like. This one I thought had a good mix. It was, there was in my opinion there was plenty of suspense leading up to the horror, and there was some awesome action scenes. It was kind of a mix of both, like on the fucking ship that they went down to save everyone, and there was that whole action scene of getting with the crane got released, and that was badass as fuck. She blew him up, and it, like acid blood like just eradicated the fucking
CGI
claw.
wasn't the best.
Yeah, I remember that was a problem for me for the trailers.
Practical effects.
Practical
Goddamn.
effects.
There is still horror there, but for me, the horror is the horror that comes from like David. He is the horror in
He's
that.
the villain.
And
The
he's the
aliens are,
villain.
like kind of side characters in this.
It's his creation. The xenomorph is
One of the
his creation.
things I was going to say I appreciate is this kind of a combination with Aliens of Ash from the first one with David and Walter Bishop. Like you have in this one, you have the two of them, both sides, one out for the company, one out to protect the humans. And I actually really appreciate that they kind of did both of that, both of being Fassbender, but like it still was pretty awesome. And I like the fact that as soon as David saw, oh shit, there's another model of me, let's cut that hair right there.
Yeah.
That minute he saw there was another one, he's like plotting already. So.
Well, and honestly, that's kind of one of the issues that I have with this movie is that a lot of the plot points were really, really like predictable. There wasn't any kind of like weird twists to it. At the very beginning of the movie where they're looking at the terraform area that was totally reminiscent of like the dark sections in the first Alien movie where there's like the chains hanging down and the aliens up in the rafters and there's a cat and totally just like a redo of that. I went, that's where the end scene's going to be. Like I knew that from the beginning of the movie.
Kind of set you up.
It set it up where I knew exactly what was going to happen. The minute that that David started cutting his hair, I knew he was going to try to replace the other android. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was super predictable. And that kind of bummed me out a little bit, that I kind of knew what was going to happen before it happened. There was not really a lot of surprises. And the other side of it was that if there weren't a lot of surprises in the storyline, then maybe jump scares or like some, oh, fuck you moments of horror. And there were maybe 2 that I can think of that really...
I appreciate the gore. It was
gory.
It was simplistic, but there wasn't a lot of jump scenes at all.
When that neomorph goes out of the dude's back.
Oh yeah.
Just a shot of him shaking like a motherfucker beforehand.
What about when the dude throws him up? Like outside. He just
I also think one thing that I appreciate is that all of us groaned at the end of Prometheus when what we thought was a xenomorph pops out of the engineer, and we're like, fuck you, that's not it. And to go into this one and then go, no, that's just the first stage, and actually develop into a xenomorph, I appreciate that, because I was fucking pissed the first time I saw Prometheus with that.
This goes into some of the plot hole stuff that I've been thinking on this movie. And granted, any movie that comes out, big budget movie that comes out, the main thing is you want people to be thinking about it a lot when they're done watching the movie, that it sits with them. And in that regard, this movie did a great job. I've been thinking about this movie ever since I've seen it, and really just going over different scenes and trying to figure out how it incorporates itself into the other movies. But there's some major plot holes there that I can't get around. One of which is that the engineers and human DNA are incredibly similar. Mm-hmm. So at the very beginning in Covenant, it shows that David drops the goo on the engineers, and they all go fucking crazy, and then no xenomorphs like come from it, or almost none, like or they happen, but then they died young or something like that. He needed human DNA in order to properly create his perfect weapon.
Well, he had 10 years to like experiment. So I mean,
did he experiment on the entire population of a planet in those 10 years?
I mean, he had 10 years. I mean, what else are you gonna do?
That scene, because when they want to cross the barren wasteland of that, getting into the building, when he rescues them, and they go to the flashback of him dropping that. And at that point, it was just a powder, wasn't it? Just a powder that he dropped on him, wasn't it? Well, and you see them come out, but then they die. Like you see as people are running away, those neomorphs popping out of their backs.
Yeah.
And on that note with the neomorph, I thought that was a cool way to bring in a different way to get infected versus the face hugger. They just literally microscopic little breathe in, and it just
when it goes in his ear,
and then it went in his nose, it went in his ear and his nose,
little dot, you're fucked.
But that's also I wouldn't say this is necessarily a plot hole so much as that it was just underexplained. That this is the engineer planet, so this is where they came from. My initial thought is that those plants are where they kind of like they're the poppies to the heroin of the little goo. That's probably the plants that they use to create this like substance that they use to create other creatures.
I forgot about it, but actually in Prometheus they brought up how the whole reason they were on that planet in Prometheus was to test out that black goo. Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing, is they weren't doing it on their own fucking planet because they didn't know what was going to happen. So they had no intentions of that shit being on their home planet. So when David drops it on there, that's the whole thing. That stuff was foreign to that planet, according to what Prometheus said. So.
But there's still a version of it in the little plants that ends up creating like the neomorphs, which were so cute.
No,
they were super cute. They were like little mini white versions of the.
I feel it's like poison ivy though, where the engineers know like, oh, don't fucking step on that. Like where humans are just walking around, not fucking paying attention, step on that shit. I feel like
of course there's the American that's just like, I'm gonna go take a shit and smoke a cigarette.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then Yep.
But the one that really got me is that there's only one way that it really is explained in my head, but there's still some problem there. Is that in order for this to kind of fit in with the first Alien movie, there's two things that exist that really are necessary for this to fit into Aliens. There's this alien spaceship, the engineer spaceship, and the pods, the pod version, the final, David's xenomorphs. Mm-hmm. In order for that to happen, you would have to have either another planet that transported David's pods via alien spaceship to LV-426, or LV-426 is the engineer planet years later.
I don't think this was the final movie that was supposed to connect them. For me, if that was the case, then yeah, there's a lot lagging. But the way it ended, it was the setup for there needs to be one more movie, and that would connect everything.
Well, really, Scott said he had planned for 2 more movies after this that connect into Alien.
Yeah,
not one, but literally 2 other movies. So
I don't know. I don't know if there's enough info
I'm
for
expecting 2. That now that David has the ship and all those colonists, like he's got his little face huggers. I guess that's what would happen. But I think he's probably going to touch on that in the next movie.
I got an idea.
Oh, boy.
Ridley Scott, if you're watching, I've got the next series of movies for you. So, not David, the other android, Walter. So he wants to protect the humans, and he kind of already has an idea that like David does not want that to happen, and we've already shown that Walter can heal. That's his version of android is able to heal from like some pretty significant shit, and there was no death scene for him. He was like killed, quote unquote, off screen, and so let's assume that he's still alive, and he's also near that alien spaceship, and he also knows where the ship is going with everybody in hypersleep with David. So he gets on the spaceship with the alien pods because he also recognizes from watching David with the neomorphs that androids are not going to be fucked with by these creatures, and they almost have like a brotherhood with them. So he trains the xenomorphs to go up against David's xenomorphs, and there's a alien versus alien fucking like.
Did you have any worst idea?
Braveheart fight.
Did you have any worst idea?
We're like. So where Walter's like, what would you do without freedom? And he's just like blue face and just like on a horse in front of a bunch of xenomorphs ready to like charge the other xenomorphs.
So you just want Ridley Scott to say fuck it and just have a fuck ton of xenomorphs.
Just a bunch of fucking xenomorphs like wearing armor and like Walter's riding one of them, like the queen alien.
Oh
he's just
my
like,
God. How much have you had to drink already?
And I've drank a fair amount so far. So
apparently, Jesus, what a horrible idea.
I think that's a great idea.
I will say the M. Night quote quote twist where
what's a twist?
Everybody kind of knew what was going on with that,
Yeah.
Like so it kind of was already written. Like we all knew, we had a pretty good idea that was David in the last shot before it was revealed. I felt like that was kind of weak to even kind of set that up.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of knew that. So
I knew it was David. Like they kind of gave it away in the med scene where she's stapling his face, and then you look down and you see his hand where it's cut and not burnt. Mm-hmm. But the dead giveaway was when he's opening and closing the doors based off Daniel's orders, but like he's studying. He's not like afraid of the xenomorph in fear for his friends. He's just like staring at it like, how is my creature? He's literally like studying how his creature is moving around the ship and all that, and how it reacts to things and stuff like that.
Here's the thing: she knows that David cut his hair, so that's a big fucking blinking warning sign right there. In addition to that, she knows that David is fucked and crazy. Mm-hmm. So because he talks with a slightly more American accent, she's like, "Oh well, obviously androids can't fake an accent, so that's got to be Walter."
Yeah,
and doesn't even think twice about it until. And this is also a fucked thing. He's an android. Why does he want to like gloat about like I got you, where he doesn't like lean into the like log cabin? All he had to do is like, oh yeah, totally, I'll help you with the log cabin. And then she's like, okay, sweet, night, and goes to bed. But he's like, shh, I'm totally gonna murder the shit out of you and create like weird aliens out of your body.
I kind of determined that he has this superiority complex where
he
does want to kind of go, you know what? I'm actually better than you, and sleep with knowing.
Look at me now, Dad.
Well, pretty much like go to sleep knowing I fucking beat you.
Well, no, and exactly. I mean, like they showed that in the first scene of the movie where he's like, he basically is like, I'll outlive you. You will die, and I will live. right off the bat, he's like, "No, I'm better than you. Like, you'll die and I will live." Like, so that makes perfect sense that he would gloat at the end.
Well, he just
and
looks
then he plays the same song.
Yeah,
like
he just looks at humans as an experiment. He doesn't see any kind of responsibility for them at all. Like,
no.
All right, so again, this is just a short little thing. Two things that I want to bring up before we conclude this is that, first off, does this movie give you confidence that if they have the opportunity to make the 2 additional ones that Ridley Scott's talked about, would you be excited to see them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I would.
You want to see how the story goes?
I want to see it connect to Alien, and I think that Scott did. It could, it wasn't like we said, it wasn't the strongest thing he's given us, but it was strong enough that like I am confident that if he would make another one and then another one, which I don't see 2, I see 1.
That's what. Yeah.
I see 1 movie to connect the 2.
With the box office numbers, I think they're going to make it kind of like smash down to 1.
I hope they even make that one.
Yeah.
That bad?
It's not terrible, but it's not doing the numbers they were expecting.
Oh, boo.
Yeah, I think it did like 36 million. That's pretty.
Where'd
If
you
it was
put
in
it at?
spring, that'd be what's that?
You never answered where you put it at.
Well, I mean, I'm probably going to go 3 just because like you're talking about like David Fincher's Alien 3 that is not his fault.
No, but it's still not a good movie.
But it's not
still
a
good movie.
And then Resurrection, which is not
No.
Joss Whedon's fault.
Oh.
And both of those movies had so much fucking potential, but they got ruined. And that upsets me so much. But yeah, this is better than those. So I'll put it as 3. But I guess my rating from like out of 5 ABV would be this is a nice summer beverage. This is a nice 3.5.
It's sessionable. This is sessionable.
This is sessionable. It's not a dick kicker.
It's sessionable.
But it's sessionable. Yeah.
I give it like 4.5 facehuggers.
Really?
Like, yeah, like
4.5.
4.5.
See,
Okay.
facehuggers, motherfucker, talking about ABV.
We are a drinking podcast.
I know,
man.
but facehuggers,
Let's
man.
just say my expectations were extremely high on this one, and it, like I said, it didn't hit the first 2, but there's no fucking way I was going to. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think there's some cut out of it. You can tell the studio might have jumped in, and your characters are not really fleshed out at all. But overall, just action sequences and suspense, I enjoyed it. So,
yeah, totally. There was shit cut out. I mean, that whole little teaser thing they released where they're having this party where James Franco's still alive.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
That's not there. Hello.
Franco is literally in it for what 30 seconds,
And he's
Yeah,
on
he did wake
fire
up.
the whole time.
Which best scene he's ever done. But no, seriously.
Like that or cutting his leg off. Like those are the 2 best things that he's ever done.
That scene I think would have been pertinent for building a relationship with the characters. Like I wanted to know them more, honestly. Like that's what is one thing I walked away with. Like I wanted to know these guys more because some of them were really cool characters.
It was weird for them to have Dan McBride in there, and then I think they literally cut out everything Dan McBride would have said.
I'm gonna colonize over this shit.
Yeah, like all that stuff was taken out, and it was a very serious role for him because it seems like they took out all the comedic stuff he had in there.
Well, Danny McBride was about to pull a Walter from Big Lebowski when he's talking about getting closer to the planet. He was about to be like, market 0! Like we're going to 40. We're not staying at 80. We're going to 40 kilometers. But honestly, I think Danny McBride did a great job, but I feel like he was underutilized.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. I think they cut out.
Oh, sure.
Why you would have had him in the movie?
I feel like editing had a lot to do with the final product here. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that you can tell there was additional stuff that was definitely there that just wasn't part of the final product. So
Maybe we'll get a director's cut.
I'm interested to see the director's cut. I'll watch a 4-hour Alien movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. That's not a problem for me.
Oh yeah, it's better than a 4-hour Batman v
So
Superman movie.
ultimately, I would say I'm 3.5, you're 4.5. Where are you sitting with it?
I don't know about a 4 or 5. I'll probably give it a 4.25.
4.25? Okay,
4.25
stars.
It's above 4. It's definitely above 4, but it's not
like
4
the
and a
tail
half.
of a facehugger.
Yeah, it's like, but I mean, because it's not. I don't think it is strong enough to be a 4.5, but it's definitely stronger than a 4. So you got to go 4.25.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of a little recap on Alien Covenant and its inclusion into the Alien universe on this very special review episode of Geeks Under the Influence. So thank you guys. Subscribe to us on YouTube, on iTunes, Stitcher, all that other stuff. Anywhere you get your podcasts. And review, share with your friends, all of that stuff. And we're going to be getting bigger and badder. Our website's going to be going through some changes, including articles, blog stuff, additional podcasts. We're going network on Geeks Under the Influence. So stick around for that. Follow us on all our social media to get all the updates on what we're planning on doing here in the near future. And we'll see you next time on Geeks Under the Influence. Join us or die.
Shut the fuck up, Hobbit.
Join us or die, or I will swallow your soul. Necronomicon. dead. You play to take, our play begins to spread. You can fight all you want, cause you felt to resist. We're here to take the world and rule with all your fists. So join us or die, join us or die, or I will swallow your soul.
GUIPodcast.com